Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Emily. Welcome. I'm going to be choosing my February TBR today using my TBR prompts. But first, I want to go over the books I picked for January and what the prompts were. I did read all 10 books in January that I picked from prompts, so I don't have to put anything back on the cart, but we'll just quickly go through those. The first was a book about social media, and I chose Remotely Love by Lori Thorne for that. The next was a book that emulated the current season, so I chose Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. Next was a romance book, which I chose The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I had to choose a happy book, so I chose Best Fake Fiancé by Roxy Muir. A book under 400 pages, I chose Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. Person on the cover, I chose City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. A book on Kindle Unlimited, I chose The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. A book that took place in a different country was Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I had to randomly generate a letter and pick a book that's title began with that letter. The letter was G, so I chose The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. And finally, I had to choose a book with yellow on the cover, so I chose a completely yellow cover, and I read Robin Cook's Pandemic. So now I'm going to go ahead and pick 10 random TBR prompts for February. I'm going to stick with 10, that's what I chose last month. I did read more than 10 books, but I am a mood reader, so I do like a little bit of leeway in my TBR, and if I don't read one of these books, it's not the end of the world. But I think 10's a good number for me right now. Let's select our first prompt. A book over 500 pages. So for this book, I'm going to go with The Host by Stephanie Meyer. This book has been on my TBR the longest out of any book that I have on here, and I really wanted to read this year. I tried to read it when I was younger, but I don't know if it just wasn't right for me at that point in time, but I did enjoy Twilight. This is vastly different. I think this is more sci-fi, maybe dystopian. From what I remember, it's about these aliens that use humans as their hosts, and they tend to kill the host as they take over their bodies, and they have to move from body to body as that person dies. I believe the premise of this is that they choose a body that will not relinquish control. So that's all I really know about this. Hoping that at this point in my life I am able to read this and I am interested in it. If not, it's going to be a DNF and I'll probably get rid of it, but I need to read it at some point or at least try. Next prompt, prompt number 2, is yellow on the cover again. 2 months in a row. I'm between 2 books. I want to read this Woven Kingdom. It's the first book in this series by Tahereh Mafi. I don't know, I think that considered yellow. And I also have Denise Mina's Conviction, which is a thriller. And I do have Tomorrow, which has yellow on it as well. But I think I'm just going to go with this Woven Kingdom. I don't know much about this fantasy series, but I do have the first and second book and the third book on pre-order. It comes out the beginning of February, so might as well try to start reading this. I've heard mixed reviews about it, but hopefully I like it since I bought all the books before starting the series. So it looks like it's about a girl who's known to the world as a servant, but she really is a long lost heir to an ancient kingdom. So she's constantly hunted, has to hide, until one day she makes a mistake, and the crown prince knows that there's a prophecy that maybe means she's going to destroy him, it seems like, but he's falling for her at the same time. So it looks like an interesting fantasy romance novel. I'm going to give it a try. So this was yellow on the cover. It's kind of gold, but I make the rules here, so we're going to do that. Prompt number 3. As 2 fall out. Food on the cover. I don't know that I have a book with food on the cover, so please hold. So the only book I can find with any type of food on the cover is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maurer. There is an apple on there, so I'm not crazy. There is food on this cover. This book's about a girl who takes a job as an assistant to the villain of her town and ends up falling in love with him, or developing feelings at least for him, but they're also trying to figure out who is trying to sabotage his work. So, again, mixed reviews about this, but I'm going into it with an open mind, and I will make my own judgments. So, food on the cover. Prompt number 4. Person on the cover. That's number 2 for repeats. For this one, I'm going to go with Wildfire by Hannah Grace. Since I read Icebreaker last month, might as well catch up on this series before the 3rd book comes out. So this, from my understanding, is a character from the 1st book, Russ, and a girl named Aurora. And I believe they have like a one-night stand at a party, and she leaves and doesn't want anything else to do with him, really. Then they end up being camp counselors at the same summer camp together. That's all I know. So I really enjoyed Icebreaker, so I'm hoping I'll also enjoy this as well. Prompt 4. Let's hope it's not a repeat from last month again. A YA book. I know what I want, but it's also going to get me into another series, which is okay. I'm going to start the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So this has been described as like a Criminal Minds-esque YA mystery series where these teenagers are chosen by the FBI to help them solve crimes based on skills that they just naturally have. So I'm going to start this. I've been really looking forward to this. I begged for it for Christmas and I got the whole series. So very excited to start this and see if I have other time in February where I've read all of these books and I want to read more of this series. Maybe I'll move on with it. Prompt 6. First book in a series. Cool. The only other one I see on here that's first in a series that I have. Now, do I want to read both of her series? I could start the Shatter Me series as well, or I could start the Cruel Prince series because I have the books that come after those. We're gonna go with the Cruel Prince just because I'm already starting one of Mafi's series this month. So, book 1 in this series. Again, I've heard a lot of good things about it. I'm not too sure exactly what the premise is, but it's a fantasy romance. It's been around for a while. There is like a secondary series that it's like the Stolen Heir series that comes after this original trilogy, and I think that's continuing to come out. So start with this and we'll go from there. Okay, book 7. There's a lot of fantasy. Hopefully I can get a thriller. A book released 10 plus years ago. Let me see when this was released. So this was 9 years ago. I have a lot of new books, so I don't know if I'm going to find one from 10 years ago. I could have used The Host, because I know that was more than 10 years ago. That more than 10 years ago. Okay, well, still going to pick a Stephen King. We're going to go with The Body, which is basically novella-sized, but it was released in the 80s, so that was more than 10 years ago, as much as it doesn't seem like that all the time. This book is about, it's like a coming-of-age story about 4 boys that find a body in the woods when they're out playing around one day, I think by the railroads or something. But the premise is what was used to make the movie Stand By Me. So if you know that movie, this was the inspiration for that. So be a nice quick read. 3 more books left. TBR card's getting a little empty. A Different Country. I'm going to pick a thriller for this because I'm 99% sure I'm gonna look. I wanted to pick one of these thrillers last month because I'm pretty sure most of Ruth Ware and Alice Feeney's books take place not in America. I found proof that this takes place in London, so I tried to quickly flip through pages so I didn't ruin the book for myself. But this takes place in a different country, so, and it's a thriller, which I don't really have other than the body. I believe this is about a husband and wife who are security experts, and he's like the muscle, she's the tech, I think. Yes. So she comes home one day to find that her husband's been murdered, and of course the police assume it's her, so she has to basically use their security system thing to prove that she didn't do it. I'm excited. I will be caught up on Ruth Ware if I read this, and she's got another book coming out this year, so I want to get caught up before that one comes out. So, book that takes place in a different country. I'm very happy I didn't have to like cheat that one like last time and pick a fantasy. So, book 9. A pretty cover. I kind of know what book I want for this, so I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to choose Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I love this cover. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's unique. And I really want to read this book. So, I believe it's literary fiction about two best friends that are, there's kind of a like romantic relationship hintings, I think, between them, but it follows them throughout different stages of their lives, and they're also building video games together during this, and it kind of just moves through the different relationships with each other that they have over the years, as well as other people. That's all I know. I've heard it's beautiful, and I've been staring at this on my TBR cart since I got it for Christmas, so I'm going to choose this as my pretty cover book. And our final prompt for February. We had another romance because it's February. Happy book. That's another repeat, but I think I can pick a romance for this. Most romances are happy. I'm going to go with Pretty Little Mistake by Michaela Smeltzer. This is a second chance romance about two people that should have been perfect for each other, but they became friends to lovers, and then they had a bad ending, and then they thought they'd never see each other again. Years later, they find themselves working for the same magazine. They're still hurt, but the chemistry's there. Well, I guess it's on the back of the book, so I can say it. It's also Accidental Pregnancy, which I'm not a huge fan of, but happy book. Hopefully it'll be happy. Well, romance books usually end happy, so we're going to go Pretty Little Mistake by Michaela Smeltzer. So once more from the top, we'll go over prompts and what I chose. First was a book over 500 pages, and I chose The Host by Stephanie Meyer. Second was yellow on the cover. I chose This Woven Kingdom by Tahari Mafi. Third was food on the cover, and I chose Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maurer. Fourth, we had person on the cover. I chose Wildfire by Hannah Grace. Fifth, we had a YA book. I chose The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Sixth was the first book in a series, so I chose The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Prompt 7 was a book released 10 plus years ago. I chose Stephen King's The Body. Prompt 8 was a book from a different country. I chose 0 Days by Ruth Ware. Next was a pretty cover. I chose Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. And the last prompt was a happy book, and I chose Pretty Little Mistake by Michaela Smeltzer. All right, so I have my 10 TBR books for February, chosen randomly by my prompt jar. And I'm actually really looking forward to these books. I'm excited for all the books on my TBR, but I've been eyeing up some of these for quite a long time, and I'm very excited about this TBR. So hopefully that helps me get through it. February is a shorter month, not by much, like a few days. Is it a leap year? Leap years are always, what, even numbers, so it might be. Yes, it's a leap year. So I have one extra day of reading in February. We'll see how this goes. I am interested to see which series I choose to maybe continue as the month goes on if I have time. This past month, it was Shadow and Bone. I started that and I finished the trilogy. So that'll come in my January wrap-up. We'll see. I have quite a few first books in a series this month, so I'll have some options if I have time left at the end of the month to read. But thank you all for watching and spending some time with me today, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!